Thank you very much for attending the Top 100 Forum, Growing a Successful Business. You're here because obviously over the years you have done very well. We've given recognition to you as a top brand in your own right, as a winning company that you may have participated over the years and taken up various positions over the years, and we're just saying this is a good opportunity to meet, to get update, to interact, to hear from you, to understand what are the things that are happening in your world, and just to be able to have a great time together. This is business. It's about networking. It's about building trust. It's about growing. So we are very grateful that you are able to come. Kpmg and the Nation Media Group, as you're aware, are key partners in this process, and it is in our interest that we see businesses grow. It is in our interest that we see best practice applied in different aspects of business, and we are ready and willing to walk that journey with you. And none other than the Kpmg CEO, Mr. Josephat Mwaura, who is now here with us, is able to bring that message across in a more powerful way than I could, because he embraces fully the Top 100 program and the growth agenda that we have for business.
There was a specific reason why we chose to bring you here. One is to introduce you to our new offices, and secondly is to give you a chance to see Nairobi in a way like you have never seen it before. This particular sector has become the darling of many. And one of the biggest challenges that you're now going to be facing is how you manage your time between coming to Kpmg, between going to Safaricom, between going to the various banks and all the other service providers who are keen to present to you the different service offerings they have for you. And mine this morning, even as you listen to our team, is to invite you first of all to spend a lot of time with your own team to determine what is the core of your business, what is the value that you are seeking from anybody who is coming to stand before you. I don't know whether many of you have been on this route from Nakuru or from Mombasa or Machakos or Nyeri, and you've stopped by the roadside to buy vegetables. The only things you see are the products and faces squeezed in there. This is how we are behaving towards you right now as service providers. And there's one of us sitting right at the front of the car and holding out the tomatoes, nyanya, and you have to sit and decide for yourself, chase everybody else away, this is the person I'm going to be talking to. And I think that's a very, very important decision for you, because it costs you time and it costs you money, and it can disrupt your business. In this particular business, there are two things that I am very, very concerned about in my own business. One is the market that we operate in. As long as I have East Africa, and East Africa is stable, East Africa's economies are growing, then I know Kpmg's business will do well. So it's my business to understand what could be causes of instability, what could be causes of disruption in the economy, and to engage in any way possible in preventing anything that interferes with my market. And for example, I remember in 2008, I spent inordinate amounts of time with the resolution process of the post-election violence. And some people asking me, when did you become a civil society activist or peacemaker like Bethuel Kiplagat? Because we were in that press conference. And I said, the fact that the highway from Nairobi to Kisumu is not operating, or the railway is not operating. That affects economic activity, and that is going to catch up with me. So my intention is to bring it to a halt as quickly as possible. The second key issue for me is people, the people we invest in Kpmg. As long as I have the right professionals and that they have come in through the right channels, then I know whatever service that you need is going to be delivered to you. Everything else is process internally. Internal efficiency and internal processes that we then need to resolve. But as long as I've got the market and people, then I know my business will thrive. I invite you also to decide for yourselves what are the 2 or 3 things that are core to your business, that you need to be ensuring they are protected at all times. And therefore, when any of us stand before you, you can assess us by deciding, is this about market? Is it about people? Is it about internal efficiency for me? And it's very easy for me then to decide who I want to engage with, who I want to spend my time with. So today you're going to be listening to our team. They have a number of solutions that we have taken time to develop for this particular sector. The reason you are here is not so much to buy from Kpmg, is to understand what your business could benefit from, and how your business could then grow profitably and securely in your particular chosen field. As you notice, when we are going to be having the East African Business Summit later this year, growing entrepreneurship is a particular topic that we want to cover, because if we are going to transform the economies of East Africa, if we are going to transform the lives of the many people who are living in poverty, and believe me, I know that path, we need to grow business, we need to grow entrepreneurship, and not just look to employment. East Africa right now, other than for the small problems we are facing in South Sudan and Somalia, East Africa is possibly one of the most exciting regions in the entire African continent. So from the natural endowment, you've got everything the world wants. From minerals, from fresh water, gas, arable land, timber, almost every single thing the world wants. And it is unexploited, it is undeveloped. All right? And then when you look at that region from demographics, you've got a region of now nearly 230 million people. And especially with the Rwanda, Uganda, and Kenya, with a very progressive cream of people who can provide the leadership that is required for growing those businesses. That population as well, there is a transformation in terms of the social structure and the growing middle class. So the buying power and the growth of wholesale and retail is going to be is increasing. And then of course you've got this disruption, very positive disruption by the mobile services, which are not just about facilitating communication and business, but now more importantly about facilitating financial transactions. So the world is looking at that, and part of the challenges that we're actually facing right now is to decide, as you are doing, is to decide who do we want to engage with. The Europeans want it, the Brazilians want it, the Americans want it, the Chinese want it, the Indians, and every single person from around the world wants a piece of the pie in East Africa. So the opportunities are immense. The challenge is for us to craft our own strategies and for us to determine our own level of engagement with everybody else who is coming in. So that building that knowledge, and you have a very short window, that is where the challenge now comes in. You have a very, very short window to do that because you've got other markets, especially India, who have gone ahead of us, who have overcome a number of the challenges that we have faced, and I will be coming in with almost ready solutions. Given the challenges that Europe has faced, there are resources out there that are looking for destinations, including professional resources. So I can probably find everybody that I need if it was not a small problem of work permits. Yeah. So it is very important for us to up our game in terms of how quickly we develop that capacity. The other issue that we face is what I would call the challenge of leadership in the context of these opportunities. The risk we face with all these opportunities is that as a leader from where you sit, you will be seeing opportunities in banking, in telecoms, in agriculture, and there is somebody there, an agent who is coming and telling you, I know how you can get this. And you will probably believe there's an opportunity to make money very quickly. I caution you against falling for that trap, because two things will happen. First, you will fall into what I call an integrity trap, because this person who is guiding you into this particular path is cutting corners somewhere and will be asking something of you, and by the time you realize, you are in too deep. And secondly, you will lose focus in your own particular business. Strategic planning is going to be critical for you to decide, this is what I want to be in. I can't serve Garissa and Nyeri and Kwale at the same time. I see opportunities. They have the biggest tenders on the table, but I have to decide which of those am I going to be involved in. Similarly, when you look at Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, there will be immense opportunities. You have to decide which of those opportunities are you going to pursue. In terms of mentoring, ours was to initiate this process. And we are very proud that we planted the seed. That seed is sprouting, and everybody now is coming to water the tree. So in terms of mentoring, at the moment we haven't developed a formal program of mentoring. We do have events like this for everybody who participates in Top 100. So together with the Strathmore Business School, we organize events that invite you to come for specific topics. And that is the current level of knowledge sharing that we have. We don't yet have what I would call a leadership mentoring process. At the moment, what we are looking at is those of you who will eventually become our clients. One of the hallmarks of our service is a relationship building process, where we really want to sit down with you and understand quietly in your own office, what are the issues that are keeping you awake at night? What are the challenges that your business is facing? What risks do you see ahead? And then we come and draw on KPMG's knowledge, both local and international, and add insight to that perspective and continue that conversation with you and give you guidance on an ongoing basis. So when you listen to the people who are presenting here, whether you're talking about matters of financial management, whether you're talking about the growth challenge, whether you're talking about internal controls and risk management, those are conversations we have every single day with our clients.
We are building a comprehensive industry database of information. So we are building information for the manufacturing sector, the services sector, transport and allied. We're looking at the hospitality, and all the details with regard to the analysis of performance, getting key benchmarking data. We want to share those with you. So every participating company will receive a report that will give them details about the performance of their sector in the economy, not in Top 100, in the economy. So by participating, it means that we can have a greater number of companies involved, and therefore the data that we'll give you is a lot more quality and will contain information that will help you benchmark yourself against your peers in the same industry. So you need to participate. Every participant will get a full report by your industry. We will share the full industry analysis at the conference on 9th October, but you will receive your own report and you can query it, look at how you are performing against key matrices that relate to your industry. We're going to look at the key considerations that you need to make as you grow your business. Josephat mentioned that it is not necessarily for you to engage Kpmg to do that, though we will be happy for you to, and that is what we would hope for. But we want you to see that this is really about your business, the key things that you must consider for you to be able to grow successfully. Sometimes that growth happens because you're doing the right thing, but after a while, it may stop. So the opportunity to learn and to hear from us and to think about the key considerations is for you to then know what you need to put in place before you get to the point where you plateau in your life cycle and then begin the decline stage. So this is really a hand-holding opportunity to look at what are the things you need to consider. When we look at family-owned businesses or the mid-sized companies which you are, and we've defined that your turnover is between 70 million and a billion, we're saying globally, this is how it looks like. In the US, 80 to 90% of businesses are in the family-owned sector. In terms of their contribution to GDP, we're saying they contribute 80 to 90% of GDP. 85% of all Chinese companies are family businesses. 65 to 95%, 60 to 80 in Africa, 70 to 80%. So in terms of contribution, as Josephat said, that is why everybody is running to you, because you are the guys that are holding the country together by doing what you are doing. From Kpmg's Middle Markets Initiative, which is what we have set up to enable us to interact with you as a one-stop shop. We have heard from you, we have listened to what you have said, we have looked at the details and the analysis from the information you have given to us in the survey, and we have said, look, we are in a position to help you grow to the next level. Our aim is to help companies grow by accompanying. And this is not hands-off advice. As Josephat says, it's a relationship that we build over time. We sit together, have coffee, talk about the issues, and help you get to where you want. These are the things that we have had you say are the key concerns. You're talking about growth, tax optimization, control, assurance, family unity, key issues. I'm glad, and unfortunately Jennifer has left, but that's a great model of how she has been able to deal with succession. Jennifer Baraza, who runs Kpmg, who has exited and left Bidania to run the company, and many of you are also doing the same in family. So those are issues, wealth preservation, things that keep you awake at night. And we're saying that we can help you sleep soundly. This is just a very complex looking graph, but basically it's saying in terms of responding to your concerns from organizational performance, your market research and analytics, business and customer development strategies, governance, business optimization and growth. On the right-hand side, we're saying within our one-stop shop, we have professionals and people with skills and knowledge to help you from market research, where we do demand forecasting. We help you with competitor analysis. into business optimization, where we are looking at tax optimization, process optimization, capital market readiness for those that are planning to list, and basically walking with you through that growth path. So today we are looking at 5 key things that we will be talking about. Your strategic considerations, your audit considerations because they have a deep impact on your business, growth and funding considerations, your tax considerations, and risk. All that will help you execute effectively and make your business run.
Today I want to answer 3 questions. What is risk? How effectively are you managing your risks? And what are some of the immediate things you can do to mitigate your risks? Now, imagine getting up every morning, getting to work. What's your objective? To get there on time. There are so many things that you consider, whether there's traffic, whether you're going to be pulled over by cops, whether or not your car will stop or not. These are all these considerations. Whether you do it consciously or subconsciously, they're there. Okay? But if you think of your business as a house of cards, okay? What is your objective for that house of cards? Is it to keep it the way it is? To manage it the way it is? Is it to grow it? What is your objective? And how would something, an event, an occurrence, stop you from achieving that objective? That is what risk is. Okay? When we talk about internal risks, we're talking about the risks that are within the organization, something that will stop you from achieving your objectives from within the organization. And it's very important to look at that, look at risk in that perspective, because if you don't have a sound structure internally, if you don't have that base to support yourself, it's very difficult to mitigate against risks that come from the outside, external risks. Those external risks being things like the KRA, interest rates, exchange rates. We all worry about these things, right? Terrorist attacks. Those are some of the things that we need to protect ourselves from. And by doing that, we need to ensure that we have a strong core within. That's why it's very important to have a look at your internal risks, to prioritize your risks, and to see how you can manage them. Okay? And it's also important that you know what sort of risks you're managing. Some of the key risks that we've identified that are of concern, the first one being financial and reputation. It all comes down to finance. At the end of the day, you're trying to make a profit. You're not here as a charity, an NGO, or a government organization. You're here to make money, right? So the key risk that you're protecting here is your financial risk, as well as your reputation, right? If you don't have a good reputation in the market, who's going to buy your services or your products? You'd rather go to your competitors, right? So how do you actually manage your risks? I think the first step is to have a management tool. This tool is known as your strategic risk assessment. So yes, we know about our risks, but how are you structuring yourself to identify those high-risk areas? As Josephat mentioned, we're all busy people. Our time is our money. So where are we spending the majority of our time, the majority of our resources? Rather than looking at everything as a whole and thinking that we can control everything, it's important to realize that we must focus more on our high-risk areas. And by having this management tool, your risk assessment, you're able to prioritize and categorize it in a formalized way. These are my risks. These are my controls. This is the risk rating, i.e., this is a high-risk area. I need to spend more time in this area. This is a low-risk area. It doesn't need a lot of my time. Okay? Another area to look at is your gap analysis, your internal controls, where you are and where you want to be, and what's stopping you from getting there. Family-owned businesses have a very unique structure at the top, especially at the board level. There's a lot more emotion involved in that board, as opposed to having someone that's not internally or emotionally invested in a company. It's important to get someone that's able to help you or advise you on what the best structure is to get your board in order so that you have that right tone at the top to help you manage your business and to make you manage it in an efficient and effective way. Your strategy. How many business owners or how many senior management members actually do day-to-day operations? Day-to-day operations like paying your casuals, like making sure that transport or your turn boys are working effectively in the transport sector, rather than looking at things that are more on a strategic level, looking at the bigger picture, how to grow your business, how to make things better. It's something to consider as well. Yeah? And if you're not able to do the strategic aspects of your business, if you're not able to handle the strategic aspects because you're so involved in your day-to-day activities, then clearly there needs to be some sort of control mechanism in place to help you strengthen that bottom base, yeah? So that you can be free to go and do those things. Okay? Other risks, fraud. Yeah? If anybody came to me and said, oh, I've never had fraud in my organization, they're either lying or they're in denial. Every organization, there is some sort of fraud that's involved. So how do you manage that fraud? Right? Another great tool to use is your fraud risk management tool. Thinking of ways of how to, first of all, prevent fraud, how to detect fraud if it happens, and what's your response? If once you've detected it, what's your response? Do you just let it go? Or do you do something about it? Okay? Your IT systems, another risk. There are many organizations that decide that they want to buy a system off the shelf because everybody else is doing it. Their competitors are doing it. But they don't realize that that system might not fit their business needs. So because they've spent so much money and energy on the system, they decide that they want to change their business to fit the system rather than the system fitting their business. And which one is more costly? Clearly trying to change your business, something that you've been doing over a number of years, to fit a system that doesn't work for you. So the question then becomes, do you have someone that reviews the systems before you put them in place? And once you've put them in place, what are some of the risks involved in the system itself? Information is key. And if you're not safeguarding your information, it's very difficult to run a successful business. So what happens when that information is lost? Do you have a backup? Do you have a disaster recovery plan to help you get back onto your feet as soon as possible with the least amount of damage? And then finally, your finance function. How supportive are your finance function? At the end of the day, finance is not your core business. It's a part of the business that will help you with your core business. Are you helping your finance team build capacity? And in fact, it's not just your finance team, but it's also your entire organization. How much do you actually invest in training to help the people that are supposed to support you in making sure they're able to do the best of their abilities? Right? It's important to invest in your people, to train them, to give them the skills and knowledge so that when you're not there and you're sitting in this forum, they're able to actually run the business. And that's what success is measured by. Not by the fact that you have to be there all the time to make sure things are running, but to have the comfort knowing that even if you're not there, your organizations are still running. When I first joined Kpmg, one of my first clients was a manufacturing company. And at that time, they had a turnover of 500 million shillings. Today, they have a turnover of close to 4 billion shillings. When we went in our first year, the organization was a mess. There were so many areas in which we were, when we went in as their internal auditors, there were a lot of efficiencies that need to be put in place. There were a lot of controls that still needed to be in place. However, by year 4, they were in a position to sell 51% of their stake. In year 8, they've increased their efficiencies. They have better controls in place, and we're still their trusted advisors. We've done internal audits. We've done fraud investigations. We've done IT audits. We've done a number of things for them, and they are successful in what they do currently. So the question I ask to you is, do you want to grow? Do you want to be relevant? And if you do, we'll gladly help you take this to the next level.
We are already serving about 30% of our clients in your market size and range of revenues. The 70 million mark and the 1 billion mark, we are already serving in that market. And what we have seen is that a lot of the clients we serve start very low, like some of you did, and are able to grow really over time to be really the big forces to reckon with. In terms of then some of the challenges that this group faces from what we have seen in our audits, we have seen financial statements which are produced and they do not quite comply with the International Financial Reporting Standards. Yeah? And what are we saying by this? When the auditor comes in and actually blesses the financial statements and say that they are true and fair, having gone through what the International Financial Reporting Standards must be complied with, the various pieces of regulation that must be complied with, and say for sure that these financial statements are not only true and fair, but they comply with those standards. Is that really happening? I think when I peruse a number of financial statements out there, they are lacking in terms of the full compliance with the quite complex International Financial Reporting Standards. And I would like to say that your financial statement, I think your organizations are as good as your financial statements. Really, the quality of your financials are relied, the financials are relied a lot on by users of those financial statements, be it your financiers, your potential investors into your businesses, you know, and all the other users of financials, really, of your financial information, rely on that set of financial statements. So if you are producing financials which are not compliant, really, they may not have the full reliability that they should have on those financials. We have come across inadequate understanding of the changing financial reporting framework and how to implement the changes. Every year, accountants are faced with a challenge of new standards coming through, amendments to existing standards, interpretations of standards, and really without an auditor who is walking through you through these changes and all that, you may miss out on some of these fast-changing standards. There's lack of access into deep insights into complex accounting and tax matters, especially deferred tax, because the matters are really not in black and white. A lot of items, transactions have accounting treatments which are gray and at best on the borderline. And therefore, I think when we say cutting through complexity, it's really going through that and giving you a solution that is beneficial to you, and then which makes sure that you're presenting your financial statements in the appropriate manner. Again, application of changes in accounting policies and estimates some of which require restatements of financial statements. We are seeing cases where really accountants and producers of financial statements are not going through the full length of what must be done then to apply changes in accounting policies appropriately. Some of you, based on what I've seen, are already starting to invest in other entities. Whether you have subsidiaries, you have associates, you have joint ventures. All these have quite complex consolidation requirements and standards that guide how to put all these numbers together to be the group financials as a whole. And most of you, I think, will be growing a lot and trying to get into this kind of arrangements with others. And so how you account for that really becomes very key. And therefore, just someone to walk you through all this is very important as you produce your financial statements. All of you here, being the entrepreneurs and CEOs and finance people of your businesses, you work so hard. Really, you must really work hard to bring revenue on the table. But how much are you preserving in terms of that value by ensuring that what you bring on the table is properly accounted for? It's not, you're not spending too much cost, and therefore then squeezing your profits that you've worked so hard to earn. Yeah? As part of our audit processes, we go through the full process of what are your control systems like, what are your IT systems like, and we give you value-added improvement points, which then you can take forward to continue with efficiencies. A lot of you are investing in whether it's in shares, listed or unlisted investments, whether it's investment properties, you know. And all these really are frameworks which guide the accounting. And some of the places we have gone, we are finding that the accountants have not quite spent time to understand how do you measure fair value, how do you present it in the financial statements, and is that then compliant with the international financial reporting standards. Just to give you some of the success stories, we have started with businesses of your size in the past, yeah, to get to where they are today. We have a client in the healthcare industry who, when we started with them in 2004, had a turnover of about 15 million, which is even below the 70 million mark that you have set yourselves here. And now, as we speak, they are at around 570 million. And they are still growing, and we are still with them. A client in ICT who had turnover of 160 million in 2007, now they are at a whopping 3.6 billion, yeah? And they're still growing, and we are still growing with them.
Our business in life is not to get ahead of others, but to get ahead of ourselves, to break our own records. And here, I want to use just two people that we are all very familiar with. We know David Rudisha. Do you know him? Or Lupita Nyong'o. Yeah, no matter where you come from, your dreams are valid. Yeah, even for you. Now, if you're already at the head of the pack, who do you compete with? Only yourself. Because anybody else will be below your capability. And this is what Rudisha has done since he ran under 1 minute 43. He kept on breaking his own record. And now he's ran sub 141. And hopefully, the only thing he's giving himself is breaking his own record. We say you don't break the world record by jumping the same height twice. If you've got to break the record, you've got to at least go one step higher. So why am I saying that? It's because wherever you are, we believe that this is not your final place. It's not your final resting place. Actually, you are on a ladder, and you have to keep climbing rung by rung, one by one, until you get to the very top. And what are the things that usually pull you down in your businesses? There are many, as Robert said. Tax is one of them. And what I keep saying is, most of us get into businesses, and what do we think about? Profits, growth. How many of us, spend some time to think about taxes. Right now, maybe you are being forced. But getting into a business or running your business without taking into account taxes, to me, it's like, putting the proverbial cart before the horse. And what do you get if you do that? One of two things. Either your horse will break its limbs trying to go over the cart to pull it from the right side, or it will pull you in the opposite direction, which will lead you to ruin and destruction. So have these things thought beforehand. Before you start building your strong business here, think of your base. And the base here, we are really talking of your tax management. Yeah? If you are a CEO there or a CFO running your own institution or company, how are you dealing with tax risk? Actually, tax risk management is more or less like walking a tightrope. And we keep saying, if you have to walk it, please have the rope very close to the ground. And how do you do that? Because should you fall, then at least you have a chance to, get up and move on. Don't really get yourself so high up in terms of your businesses, and to such an extent that because you never took care of your tax risks, your fall will actually mean your demise. Again, tax has been banded as one big thing, but we all know that it's broken down to all those things. Critical thing for you is, what is your effective corporation tax rate? What is the tax rate, corporate tax rate in Kenya? 30%. If you do your tax computation and look at what you call your effective tax rate, is it less than or more than 30%? For most people, it is more than, meaning that we have got areas for optimization. Yeah, you have to make sure those things that we add back to tax you, is there any way we can do to try and reduce the tax liability? The very annoying tax, we know it has gone through phases. Yeah, well, fine, value-added tax. Yeah, and now we have a completely new tax. How does it impact your business, and how are you trying to get yourself, really protected from its rough edges? Are there things you can lobby for? Because I can promise you, come this June, we are going to have a list of goods or services actually exempted because of the lobbying that is happening. What is it that we can do together? Withholding tax. Pay as you earn, Are you, subjecting all your benefits to tax? At times we don't, because we don't know. And remember, ignorance of the law is no defense. Ignorantia juris neminem non excusat, for those that know some bit of Latin. So, but we know that for you so that we can assist you in complying. Customs, I know that's a consumption tax, and most of us are already maybe complying. So for us, as we say, there are too many things, and for me, I wouldn't even want to seem like I'm selling this to you, because I believe for you coming here, you are already the converted. I'm preaching to the converted. I'm just highlighting some of the things that we've managed to do, not really to blow my own trumpet, but really show you that there are solutions to any problem that we may be facing in our businesses. Tax planning is big, and it comes in all manner of sizes and shapes. When I joined I started tax 12 years ago. There were many, many opportunities. They have every year. The loopholes keep on getting sealed. So it now takes a lot of time to tax plan, but it is always worth a shot. Okay? Training, you can never really go wrong by training yourself. When you get into situations and you cannot agree on the assessments that you've been assessed to by KRA, at times things go to the tribunal. I don't know, we say that the representation there is worth a lot more. It can save you quite a lot of money. And at times, look at what you're likely to save by engaging somebody that is well-versed with how to go about these things than going it alone and really bearing the brunt of it. And what we realize is that our revenue enforcers, at times, even without intending, they can be very intimidating. VAT refunds, we know they are big. Organizational structuring, I guess, at times you operate, you have multiple companies and you want to get efficiencies. That is something I think we can always partner together to advise on. We are saying, look, we believe you want a one-stop solution on this, what we want to offer, not in terms of audit tax, but say this is a team that will deal with whatever challenge you may have that affects your business.
Kpmg has been advising clients such as yourselves throughout the life cycles of your businesses. Right from when you're a startup, when you're trying to set up your businesses, trying to secure customer contracts and secure supplier relationships, right to the point where you now have those in place and you're now establishing yourself firmly in the growth phase of the business. And right to the point where, as a result of that growth, there's been a lot of competitors coming into the market to compete for that market share. And as a result, your revenue growth starts slowing down. And from that point on, it's now a question of, are we now going to have a rebirth or are we now going to plummet downwards? Funding has been a key challenge for a lot of SMEs. So when you get to the point where you're now looking at transforming your business and taking your business to the next level, a lot of companies that are sitting represented here have turnover of between 70 million to 1 billion. But as Caxton says, that's not the ending point. A lot of you want to transition on to listing in the Nairobi Securities Exchange. A lot of you want to transcend the borders of just Kenya and East Africa and become a multinational organization. And a lot of you have great plans for your business and where you want your business to grow. But the key challenge with that, obviously, is where do we get the money for this? And I know that is something that keeps a lot of you awake at night. And just by looking at the statistics from last year's survey, about 67% of the participants that took part in last year's survey mentioned that they run to their bank whenever they think of money for expansion, money for growth. They look for bank loans. And that has worked actually for a lot of SMEs. But then the next question that comes into my mind is that the most optimal financing structure for your business? Because sometimes money isn't everything. Sometimes you need someone who will come on board and explain to you how, bring on board technical expertise and know-how from their own industry experience, and then take your company to the next level. So sometimes the other options that exist that could be a potential source of funding for the business that often you don't think about. And that's where we come in. Because through the relationship that we establish with clients such as yourselves, we're able to understand the intricacies of your business and understand the most optimal partner to take your business to the next level. And to begin, I want to just share an example of an actual company that we work with in this regard. So just to give you a background about this company, they're an agricultural company that's based here in Kenya. They mainly deal in organic and inorganic fertilizers. And so they came to us because they were seeking expansion capital. And they didn't just want to follow the traditional routes of bank loans. So what did we do for them? So the first thing is we just sat down with them and had a listen and understood what exactly their business involved. And once we had that understanding, we prepared a one-page, what we call a teaser. It's just a one-page document with highlights of the business and who are their key customers, what is their general approach or the general route to the market. We just lined up key financial indicators like their revenue, their asset base, and the EBITDA over the last, say, 3 years. And we sent that out to a database of financial and strategic investors who form part of our clientele. And once we did that, we got an enormous response from these investors who are interested in buying a stake in their business. So once we had these responses, we then went ahead and prepared a detailed information memorandum. And once they had a look at that and they were sold on the idea, the next step was then facilitating meetings between these investors and this company. And we felt that it was in fact, that was the most important part of the process because a lot of companies such as yourselves often get intimidated by some of these investors. And it's sometimes a scary process. And so having a trusted advisor to hold their hand through the process was a very big contributor to the success of how the process went. So as we speak, the company is in the process of securing exclusivity contracts with some of their foreign suppliers. And with that in place, we already have 2 offers on the table where now they'll be able to agree on the price and seal the deal. So we're looking at closing this in the next month or so. The next challenge that I can talk about is strategy and growth. So sometimes as an SME, you're at a place where you know that it's time for me to move from this place and it's time for me to go to the next level. But then sometimes you're not really sure about what approach you want to take, because there's so many options out there and there's so many things that you could do, and sometimes you get boggled by all of these possibilities, and that's where we come into play. The last challenge that I'd like to talk about is on exit planning. So as an owner of a business, it gets to the point where you'll need to retire, you'll need to hand over your business, and sometimes your family is not interested in taking up that responsibility. And so the question becomes, I've worked so hard over this number of years to get to this point, and I don't want to just leave my company to die. So who is the right person that I need to think about to realize the value that I have put in this business over the last couple of years and take my business to the next level and still maintain the legacy that I had instituted? We continue to work with SMEs day to day, and we have a great database of information that will be relevant to you. And we invite you to come to us and think of us as your trusted advisors.
Our sector, we are always constantly thinking cost is an issue. How much do you charge? How do I select who to work for me? The beauty about our business or advisors, as opposed to your menu, is that we do not have a set price. So you're not coming to interact with the people that have tabulated data about what you will pay for X service. No. When Josephat gives you his number, I want to tell you, and this is repeated by every one of us, it means that let's chat. Your issue will be resolved different from any other because of its unique characteristics. The decision about what you will pay for it will be agreed beforehand between ourselves. One of the things we are definitely doing, and that's why the mid-market structure is in place, is to make sure, having understood what you're saying, you have said cost is an issue. We are properly aware of that, and when we engage with you, we help to give a solution to that problem. The examples I have seen today, we have clients who have a turnover of 14 million. 14 million turnover, we have them as clients. Now, they are able to pay for the services because it's not about whether we are expensive or not. We are able to provide a solution, and that is what you need for your business. And there are many ways we arrive at the costings for that, but that is when we speak. So do not fear interacting with us purely because there's an assumption about the cost of the service.
Business Daily is part of the top 100. We're the ones who feature you, we publicize you and talk more about your businesses. Business Daily, to just give you a brief, is a paper that was started about 7 years ago. We are going to 8 years. It's a 32-page paper focusing on business. We have 3 pullouts within the week. We publish it Monday to Friday. And I talk about the pullout because it interests most businesses. On Tuesdays, we focus on enterprises, anything to do with your successes, your innovation, and what you're doing. It's free. You just come forth and tell us what you're doing, and we'll publish it. On Thursday, we deal with digital, anything to do with IT, new phones, and whatever. And then on Friday, we have the business life. It's called BD Life. This is where we talk about where the business managers go to hang out, what they drink, the watch they wear, and the places they love to be. So you can come forth also to just tell others how you use your money and how you spend it. That is also free for whoever wants to be there, and we encourage more of you to come forth. Another thing is about the the enterprise page. That is the page for top 100, but hardly do most of you come forth to be featured. We urge you that when our reporters call you to be part of that page, please share your success story with the youth who want to be inspired and who are looking out for opportunities. You can also advertise with us. We do advertisements, and our marketing team is there. You can just talk to them about the rates and everything. We thank you so much for being part of the Business Daily.
Thank you very much for coming. Have yourself a lovely day, and we'll see you at the next forum.
Small companies are spectacle because you are like, these people charge so much. They have been able to break it down in 5 different ways where you can be able to interact them directly for one specific place, which you will be able to feel the potential. If you are good enough and you have realized your weak points, you can come to them and you can be able to be sorted in different issues. So we are really glad that we came for this, and we hope we can benefit and we'll get in touch with them soon.
It's definitely a source of pride for us at Alexander Forbes. Very happy to be included in such an exclusive group. I think it's a reflection of our efforts in the market, and it gives us a chance to really stand out from the crowd. The good advice is always worth the money you pay for it. So any advisory company that can help you improve your business or improve your profitability, if it improves your bottom line, surely it's worth the effort.
I think some of the things that I've really picked and pegged on is the issue of introducing systems, and apart from systems also whereby we are able to be in a position as a company now to hire. Instead of struggling to do some things, you can get a professional in that area to come in and do them for you, like taking away that burden and the risk away from you. So it's pretty interesting.
I would encourage companies who have reached at the turnover of 70 million plus to join the top 100 so as to get other benefits. They will be able to network with other companies, see what new ideas they can get from that networking, from the resources that we have at Business Daily, and also what Kpmg has to offer, the business advisory that is there, and also from our sponsors who also give business advisory together with different offers from their companies. They will be able to get benefits. And by just having the top 100 logo, it makes your company more credible, and you'll be able to work with other bigger blue chip companies maybe in terms of supplying them with your services.